Politics. We forgot about politics. And it's, of course, my world as a bureaucrat. And it's a schizophrenic world. But it's my belief that in every process, if it's an atelier in developing a map or a discussion on art, politics always comes last. And then they always disagree, and we are disappointed. So politics should at least become first. But not alone. I use politics and design together as a collaboration up front, and not to make objects, but to work on a process. Not a process of quick politics or dirty, from today until tomorrow, be effective as quick as I can. No, to place quick politics, because politics wants to be quick, wants to be reactive, wants to be result-driven on a short term. Confront politics with a longer-term perspective. Base it on the ideas, the known, the research, the analysis of the yesterday, and confront it with perspectives of the day after. Second, besides politics and design up front, is that it's my belief, and what I experience is that all big issues at stake, and we know even in the region here, there are big issues at stake. The way we respond to them, being it artists, being it politicians, being it policymakers, being it architects or planners, the response to that, there's a big gap. So we make policy documents or maps or draw up ateliers or work in our isolation or not. But what's at stake, the urgent challenges and the response don't interact. And it's my belief that this combination of actors actually can trigger this response. This is my job. The politics of planning, trying to balance it every day. A little bit of the Netherlands, where we come from. Planning is in a historical perspective. Jacoba Mulder and Cornelis van Eesteren working on the Amsterdamse Bos. I show this picture for 3 reasons. One, they are working on the Amsterdamse Bos. And the Amsterdamse Bos is a core quality of the region of Amsterdam, but it was not started as that. It's a political project. It was crisis in the 30s, and people had to get to work. So we had to build. The Amsterdamse Bos was started from that idea, a labor project. Secondly, politics and design were well connected. So the Amsterdamse Bos was on the political table, discovered. Third, Mrs. Mulder excused herself after the picture was being published. She forgot to put on her white coat. Design was perceived as a science in those days. This is the Amsterdamse Bos nowadays. This is how we make maps, and this is how we make cities. This is how we do it in the Netherlands, or at least did, and this is how we do it on the level of the Netherlands versus Flanders. I had my colleagues from Flanders this afternoon in The Hague, and we talked about the differences as well as the connection. I will go fast because this is a presentation. I put something in the end for the Euroregion here, and this is what you know. All the big challenges. This is also what you know, that in Europe we're in a different condition. We're shrinking, we're aging faster than any other continent. Our innovation lacks, our borders grow or getting thicker. We're not that innovative. And then we're filthy, we decline, we have water issues when it comes to the Netherlands. There's actually only one hope when it comes to demographic decline, is that the only real growth place of Europe is Almere. This is the perspective that I believe in, but this is a crisis perspective where we tend to become very nostalgic, looking back to old pictures from the 30s of designers in white coats working on our cities. This is the trap. So this is the challenge. Big issues at stake, and we don't know how to act upon them, except for a lot of complexity. Then people say, well, why don't we believe in cities? Those are the places where everything happens. People live in cities. We're an urban species already. In 2040, 50, it will be 75% of the world living in urbanized regions, earning 90% of our GDP on 3, 4, 5, or 6, or 7% of our to be populated earthly surface. And cities is where people gather, they emancipate there, they grow, it attracts them. Poverty is there, segregation is there, migration is there. It's the place where people come together to actually work on innovation. So it's not a place where people are rich, it's a place where people invest to become better. Bruce Cutt said, making city is the principal imperative of our times. This is what cities do. Not as machines, but as society. They changed. I like to talk about the maps. We like to perceive cities in different ways. There's a map where you can compare it with eggs. First we had eggs, and now we are scrambled. And this is also what happens in the Netherlands. Very small country, where it's not the municipality border that actually makes a city, but it's the region that makes the city. And the same goes for Europe. So this is not about the nation state or my occupation as a bureaucrat on a national level. This is about how it works on any level, in this region and on the scale of Europe. I will skip what we do except for this one. The other thing is that there's no one way or no one perspective. It's everywhere different. So the east of Europe is different than the west, but in the west there are differences too. In the Netherlands we have growth, decline, and stagnation at the same time, and we're a small country. And every place in this growth, stagnation, and decline area has its own specific characteristics. So drawing up generic policies from a national level or drawing up generic policies from a regional level will always be objected by the specificness of the place. But if we make everything specific, there's no one solution. So it's and generics and specific at the same time. That's what we tried in the Netherlands, but I will not talk about it. It takes him a while. I want to talk about how we do it here. It's design and politics. Christoph started with the narrative of the place. I think a narrative can be built up. It can start anywhere. It can start here. This is the third. So I think you already have a library of narratives. This is Berlin. Mark Wallinger, British artist. He dressed himself up as a bear. A bear, you know Berlin and bears. He went into the Nationalgalerie every night. And you can see he's fake. This is not a question of do you really think he's a bear, dangerous or not. But the next morning, some Berlin people brought food inside the Nationalgalerie. And the day after, there was more food. And they fed him for the 2 weeks or 10 days he actually was at the Nationalgalerie. I think any collaboration of actors in any alliance, not being only artists, not being only politicians, not being only scientists, not being only planners or architects, can draw up or come up with this story, this narrative, this tale. We try to address this with policy documents on the national level to make it actually possible to empower design, to empower the collaboration between design and politics. But it's difficult because policy documents are very hard. They are, you know, I have a bag full of policy documents I have to read on my way back and negotiate about them, but it's about how reality works. And then I am confronted, and I think this region is confronted with the EU. How can you connect when the action is on the local level, on the urban level, on the regional level? If you know that you can build on a narrative, when you invest in an alliance that's strong, where design actually plays a role, but it's not only key, what does it mean for this nation state when it comes to the EU level? Can we actually be a connector between what happens on the regional level? Can we open up borders when it comes to this connection between Limburg and Germany and Belgium? In the Netherlands, that's hard. In the Netherlands, 94% of our taxes are earned on the national level, and we decentralize them down. So there's no autonomy on the local or the regional level. Everything's centralized, although we decentralize policy. And you can see that in how people vote in Europe. When national policies earn national taxes, people vote nationally. So it's my belief that we have to decentralize our money to actually make the region, to actually empower the region. What does this mean in the connection with Europe? If Europe is a league of nations, but what if it was a league of cities? Would Istanbul be one of its leading partners? Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had the Hansa network, but we forgot about it. Cameron was actually the only European leader in the last 3 years who dared to suggest that Istanbul should be part of Europe. And Europe is this Europe of regions, and Europe develops all these urban strategies, strategies on policy, strategy on investment, strategies focused on the region. So how can you connect this local and regional level with the European level using the nation state as an intermediary? Ban Ki-moon went to the European Union and said, "You're crazy. You forget something. You're the old continent. You were always leading the way." We said, "Dare to lead. Take the next step. Make a future vision," he suggested, and act upon it. Can we, and that's a question for me, I'm a bureaucrat from the national politics. This is a region that's cross-national. Can we as a national government can actually be the connector between the local and the regional and the EU and break through these borders, emphasize the scale, emphasize the power, empower, start to build urbanization, regionalization from that level? It's an interesting world, this cross-border region. It's complex too. The University of Aachen, some of you know it very well, core language is German. One of the key reasons why the Dutch will not study there. They go to Eindhoven and Amsterdam. They go to Brussels. They don't go to Aachen. So the only negotiation perhaps is not opening up the borders, because they are open, but negotiate with the University of Aachen and say, why don't you also teach in English as a core language? Then we can open up this border. The borders are open. There's trains, there's buses. Students live in Heerlen and speak Dutch and German and go to Aachen. But they can't speak English at the university. There's a lot of collaboration between Flanders and the Netherlands. We were the Nederlanden once. There are beautiful stories about that, but then I'm becoming nostalgic again. Russell Shorto wrote a beautiful book about it, but this is 1600 something, and we don't want to reminisce. But Rutte and Peters, the two prime ministers, actually said at first there's a lot of connection between our two regions, because Flanders is not a country. Actually, it's weird in Europe to connect a region with a country. But they don't care. They're very pragmatic. They say we have a lot in common. We have to connect. We connect with the delta, which is logical. The two harbors in the west. We make a new delta strategy when it comes to climate change. We make a new harbor strategy when it comes to our economical benefits. We even try to make a new international network when it comes to infrastructure. And Rotterdam and Antwerp are teaming up, doing an experiment, saying if we could be twin cities, what would both agendas look like? This is where we are. Another map. Another map telling a story about a different metropolitan Europe. You can't see borders, although you can suggest where Flanders is. I think. How does this help? How does this help this region where we are? I think it does help this region where we are. I think we should build on maps, build on alliances, build on testing. And I think we should build on the formalization of the informal. I liked the intervention of the two artists, but for me, I was educated as an artist. I always miss, on the political level, the connection. Both sides. So what I do in my job is to invest in the informal way, in design, in art, in an international architecture biennale, in cross-boundary alliances, but not without the connection with the formal way. So it's design on the political table. It's art in a policy process. It's an alliance within a formal negotiation. And it's my strongest belief that out of this approach, a new narrative, especially in a region where there's so many borders, especially in a region where there's so many stories, especially in a region where there's so many different stories to tell, is the only way out.